President Jacutis,
Present.
Betty Gonzalez, Carly McLean, absent, Robert Mazzone, Arthur Akers, Marlene, Vassie Eddy, Minette Law, Pam Edwards, present.
All right. So right now we'll start number one on the
Our friends, Joan Noble.
Bliss Board appointee update.
Present.
So do you have who has the update on the?
My understanding is that the names that were submitted by the Council on Aging were in fact interviewed, and that everyone was accepted with the exception of two. I've had discussions with council for Bliss, and they have indicated that if in the event that anyone was rejected for any reason, that this board would be permitted to submit replacement names. So it may be appropriate for the nominating committee to reconvene to discuss those two spots. I will say in respect to Bliss, their bylaws did not permit or provide for a replacement. And so this was a concession that we negotiated with the city insisted upon. Especially given the history of the Council on Aging not having adequate representation on the Bliss board as a whole, if for any reason, given the tight timeline and the issues that are facing the Council on Aging, the Senior Center, Bliss and the city's decision to mutually part ways on June 30th, it was very important moving forward that there'd be a full complement of 5 Council on Aging appointments. So there would be 2 more to be for this board to submit to the Bliss board for interviews and consideration, and we'll certainly push it for any reason that those individuals were rejected, that we still have another opportunity to resubmit new names so that we will not lose our full complement of 5.
So why don't we get together the subcommittee again? We'll pick a date. We really can't pick one right now because everyone's not here, but pick a date and we can look over the applicants and submit 2 more names to the Bliss board. Is there a timeline that we have to have them in by?
I would recommend it the sooner. Technically, through the Bliss bylaws, their board should be constituted in October because of confusion going through determine how many members we have, which was 5, and 1 happened in the past who were holdover members who were who may or may not have had an unexpired term. They have agreed to give us an opportunity to fill those 2 spots. Most of what I will advise today will be time of the essence, as the clock is ticking, and as it stands now, June 30th would be our target date in order to locate an alternative temporary or permanent location for the senior center.
Everybody okay with that? Anybody have any questions? No? Okay, on to number 2. Council of Aging Director position. Mr. Attorney Lamanna.
Drew Russo, our Personnel Director, has put some job descriptions out from other communities, and we're looking for some feedback from this board as to the things in here that you don't see that the board thinks is crucial part of this job posting. The mayor envisions that the senior center director / Council on Aging liaison position would be a major part in not only locating for a new senior center, but also making sure that we have all the equipment and everything lined up, that on July 1st we're ready to go. And I know Stacey Mintello was kind enough to give us a detailed list of items that would walk either the city funds or state grant money through the Friends of the Council on Aging. So there's a belief that we wouldn't be starting from scratch, where we'd be forced to furnish and purchase all the equipment, and we'll certainly negotiate with Bliss a transfer of items that rightfully belong, quote unquote, to the senior center. In an ideal world, we would have this job posting in its final form. We advertise in the next several weeks, and one thought was if this Council on Aging, I can certainly photocopy this and scan this to the members. If there were any comments or any suggestions they'd like to see, that they can give you Russo's personnel director's contact information, that either within the next week, if you think a little bit longer, not to wait for the February meeting to finalize this, because the posting and the interview process will take a period of time. What we have seen in most municipalities around the Commonwealth, the average salary for a senior director is roughly around $80,000. You folks know what your annual budget is, and in all likelihood, it would not be a one-person operation. There would be a need to have at least some part-time staff and perhaps one additional full-time staff. We've also looked at what other communities have done with respect to day-to-day operations, recognizing that the Council on Aging meets once a month, and that whoever this person is going to be someone that will be coming in, will not be a department head. Where the senior center reports to, the senior director reports to on a day-to-day basis, if issues come up where they need to order supplies and the like. These are all things that the city has not been responsible for decades, as far as following 30D, for procurement, for supplies, for toiletries, for making sure the electric bill is paid. These are things now that will be our responsibility. We've seen some cities have a Department of Elder Services. That's a full-blown department. We do not have such a department that exists now. In the long term, that may be something worthwhile to look into. Other cities and towns have a Department of Recreation and Community Services / Development. You certainly have a Community Development Department here. I don't know necessarily, and the mayor does not necessarily believe, and the councils that I've spoken to don't necessarily believe that that is a perfect fit for the day-to-day supervision of the senior center director to make sure that we're complying with 30D for procurement and the bills are being paid when issues come up. What seems to be, from what I've seen from other cities in Lowell and Fall River, follow this example, is for day-to-day supervision, that the senior center director fall under the health director, in the health department. And there's been some tentative reach outs to, I just actually got on the phone with the chief of special services. He has seen this in other communities and sees, as our government is formed right now and our departments have their unique functions, that would probably be, absent of creating a brand new department, if realistically is a long-term goal, not something that can be done between now and July 1st. Absent a full elder services department, apart from the senior center, one person is basically just watching over whoever the senior center director may not make the most sense in the short term. And given Michelle Maris as our health director, some prior experience in managing nursing homes, and her day-to-day dealings with the elderly, she would come in as someone that would have a skill set that would be able to understand, quote unquote, some of the lingo and the like. Certainly something I was very curious of. Hopefully we have more of a board here. The feedback of the Council on Aging on an arrangement such as that, recognizing that more than once a month supervisory supervision is probably going to be needed. It's certainly in the first year as we begin to operate our own senior center for the first time. This is informational, so there'll be no binding votes, but we absolutely, I know the mayor's office is very interested in seeing if this is something that would seem acceptable, having looked at what other cities and towns have done. Given our existing departmental structure, this seemed to make the most sense at this time.
And so basically what we're looking for, or what you're looking for right now, is input from the board. If they see something that they feel should be added, to contact Jerusalem and personnel. All right, do we have this information on here, if anybody is?
I will send out an email. I
Okay.
with Drew's email address, Elizabeth here from the mayor's office, who's been very much involved in this from the beginning. I had a long meeting last night with the mayor's chief of staff about this, so this is absolutely something that's a priority now that we're in 2020. It's been a priority for the mayor for a time, not knowing until fairly late last year that we would be separating and moving on. But really, this is probably the number one focus. City government is to make sure that come July 1st we have a new, we have a suitable location. I know Pam has conducted surveys, and that's later on the agenda, and I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that there's some suggestions in there that can be utilized as we formulate the RFP. And the RFP process would be, likely for a lease and/or purchase. of a senior center. We wouldn't foreclose the idea if there was a piece of property that was currently on the market, someone was looking to sell, that was a unique fit. I've spoken to the chief financial officer. If, obviously, a outright purchase would be much more expensive than a monthly lease, but if there was a seller that had a property that met the needs of the Council on Aging, and most importantly, the seniors, that is not off the table for financial reasons. The chief financial officer is committed to whatever necessary funding is needed, and we would not forego an opportunity to purchase a property that's a much better fit than a short-term or even long-term lease.
So right now, just have everyone read this over. If you feel like we need to add something, Jim will send the email out to contact Drew Russo, see if we can add something to this, because this is #1 priority that we do need to look for a director for the senior center. So if everyone, within the next, should I give a timeline, maybe by next Wednesday, next Thursday to have?
Next Friday,
Next-
and then with an eye towards posting out perhaps the following week. I haven't had a chance to go through these job postings in detail. I can assure you there'll be some language in there that, even if the job duties are spelled out, there will be language that says, and as directed by the Council on Aging as the mayor. A lot of these job duties, back to my rental purchase component, the job duties and the daily supervision and daily responsibilities will be contingent upon whether we own or whether we rent, whether the landlord is going to be responsible for maintenance and custodial efforts, or whether the city would be responsible to be engaging a custodian to be there. My understanding, Liz has a custodian that is on site. I don't envision a scenario where there could not be a regular presence of a custodian to make sure that the building meets cleanliness standards. These are all negotiable with the landlord. They're responsible for maintenance and custodial efforts that in all likelihood will be increased in the rent. Stress to you, you folks know your budget. If $80,000 is a senior center that's been going great for a senior center director, you take your annual budget and you subtract that 80 and then figuring out what else not knowing what the rent is going to be, or whether there's going to be a bond for a purchase or interest on a loan. So we've got to keep that in mind as we move through this process. But it does seem that every city our size, and even cities like Malden and Medford, revere that the $80,000 figure is the seems to be going rate for a senior center director.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, let's move on to the next one.
I just have one.
Okay.
Jim, it's hard for me to type and listen.
Or that is helpful. It'll be
That
on
is helpful.
LCTV.
Yes, that is helpful. So, did I hear you say that this position, what will it be considered under the city? It will not be a director position? Is that what I heard?
I've seen it as, one of the problems and the difficulties with Stacy Minicello being an employee, and even Sandra, to be fair, being paid and being an employee of Bliss, there's two masters. So coming here and making recommendations to this board, being an employee of Bliss, taking out any names, it is difficult to be free with your criticisms and your hopes and dreams. I'm sure both Sandra and Stacy would say if in an ideal world we would do A, B, C, D, and E, but there are funding limitations. This person moving forward will be a city employee. It will be reporting and will not have those conflicting two masters, so to speak, that are reporting to their actual employer and Sandra will be all likelihood be working with Liz come July 1st, so she's got to be cognizant of that. I understand that and respect that. And then Stacey has similar issues. It is the hope that the senior center director would be appearing here, would be doing minutes, would be being your eyes and ears on the senior center with no hesitation by this board and any city official that this person is not focused solely on the wishes of the city.
Will they be considered like a city director?
The senior center director slash liaison council, I see it's here in the agenda as two different people. I think that that I don't see a reason, and I'm certainly welcome your input, why that the senior center director could not be the liaison for the Council on Aging, that you advocate and to this person, knowing that they have no handcuffs from other bosses or other forces. This person would be a pure city representative paid by the city, expected to be getting direction from the Council on Aging, from the mayor, on day-to-day minutiae like purchasing of supplies and making sure that it's still within budget under what the recommendations we have at this time, pending your input, day-to-day involvement with the health director. But again, I welcome thoughts of looking at cities do it very differently. Now, if there were two separate positions, the senior center director, I would imagine, would be paid much higher than a representative on the Council on Aging. A representative, whether that person is needed, would be. I defer to you folks who've been coming to these meetings for a lot longer than I have. Someone has to be in charge, and having two people, that could be cause some problems.
I think that by the agenda, and I typed it, I believe that's just a typo. The senior center director position and the LCOA director, I think that we all agree is the same person. Yeah.
Well, Stacy was hired by the board of the Lynn Council on Aging as senior center director and director of the Lynn Council on Aging. That was in her description. And I have to just let you know that she was a manager, a department manager with City Hall. She was invited to all the meetings, and the mayor specifically said he wanted it known so that she would not be excluded. She did come to all the meetings as a department head of the city.
You are absolutely, there was a misconception that she was paid by the city in some fashion when she was not. And there was a misconception that she was a department. She was absolutely invited to every department head meeting. She was absolutely included as a city official. But that does not change that she was not paid by the city.
That's right. But the city recognized her as being one of their department heads. That's the point that I'm
right, but
trying
the department head gets education
and everyone
they get
knew.
tenure, and they get pension, and they get health insurance from the city. Stacy,
Right.
rightly or wrongly, under that prior arrangement that will be ending soon, did not receive any of those benefits that go along with a quote-unquote department head position. But she was actually treated, and I having spoken to prior mayors, I believe prior mayors were under the belief that Stacy was in fact being paid by the city and was receiving city benefits. It was not until a lot of things that came to an end in the last 2 years where we started to untangle exactly how we got to where we got to with respect to GLSS essentially being our subcontractor with the city saying, GLSS, you will be running our senior center with some advice and consent from this board. From a legal standpoint, I don't believe this board could legally order Stacy to do anything given that she was being paid by GLSS. And that is something that we're trying to correct moving forward, that this board, the mayor, city officials can give direction and orders, and there's back to my metaphor, the two masters, where they have to listen to what you guys say, the council on aging, the mayor, but then also whatever you guys say, they have to run it by the GLSS board. So there were two boards that were essentially involved in the day-to-day operations, and that will hopefully, and I don't see any reason why it won't, come to an end as we move forward in the next fiscal year.
Right, and when Stacy spoke to the mayor, the promise was that the city would take over the senior center, and the monies will be not sent to GLSS. So hopefully, with the promise of a new location and a new format, that the city will be taken over.
It is our full intent. This is why the personnel director is ready to post this with your input, why we're looking and making overtures about for day-to-day management, the health director who has experience in elder affairs, whether that's where it appropriately belongs. It seems to me that that's a benefit in community development, which is, again, I've seen other cities do. Great community development has great experience in grants. But that being said, the health department has a tobacco grant. They have other grants where their contract employees that are funded by, and half of your budget comes from the state in a grant-like formula.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, we'll move on. Open seat on Lynn Council of Aging.
So, recently, Marty, I think I forwarded you the letter she sent us. So now we're up to 4 seats that are vacant on council on aging. We interviewed, I gave you the number of candidates that are still under consideration. I have a couple of interviews set up for next week and the week after, and we're going to reconvene with the mayor, and then we're going to look at who potentially we can recommend for appointment to the council.
All right, do you have a timeline? I know you're interviewing next week.
That in the next month, I'll look and see who's recommending. But it all also fluctuates with its time, with the things that just are happening in the city. But I'm going to try for the next month because given that now it's down to 94 open seats, with everything else that's going on, it's pretty much a priority to get these seats.
So we could have new board members hopefully maybe next month. Thank you, Elizabeth. Does anybody have any questions for Elizabeth?
I do. I was interviewed by you, and I never received a reply as to whether I was accepted or not accepted.
Because you're under consideration. So I'm not going to send anyone a reply saying they're accepted if they haven't been, and I'm not going to send anyone a denial until we have all the seats filled and we've decided who the mayor's going to appoint. So once that's decided, you'll either get an email or a letter from me, either thanking you for applying and explaining that you weren't selected, or letting you inform you that you were selected.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone have any other questions for Elizabeth? Do you have a question? No? Okay. All right, next on the agenda is the budget. Sandra, I think that's you today.
Yeah, so I passed that around. This is the budget that was presented from the fiscal department. If you look at income, it is mostly in line with whatever was budgeted. So total income was $29,950 versus a budgeted amount of $30,630. The difference there is in trip income. There's a variance of $602, but if you look at trip expense, there was zero money allocated for December, and it was budgeted at $625. So as you guys know, the trip income and trip expenses usually wipe each other out, and maybe this is the way they budgeted, but maybe it wasn't in the books in time to wipe each other out. But that really, it comes out clear just because there was no trip income except $65 in December, but there was no trip expense either. If you look at expenses, and I want to just go down what direct expenses are so you guys have a better understanding of what's being spent in the senior center, and the answer is almost nothing. So casual labor is $320, and that's for the only instructor that we pay at the center, which is the painting instructor. Then we have postage expense, and that's to mail out the monthly newsletter. We have recreational supplies, and I haven't made any purchases since I was put in this position and plan not to. In December, there was $110, and that was for the New Year's Eve celebration supplies, which are the hats and horns. We have communication at $212. I asked about that because I had no idea what that was, and they said that's Comcast cable. And I did talk to some people in the senior center who I see that watch TV, watch the news, and I don't want to take that away from them, but that's what that is. And then $250 for fees, dues, and publications. I also asked about that, and that's the Massachusetts Council on Aging membership. It's a $3,000 membership a year, and they break it down evenly into the 12 months. I asked if we could get off that. That is a big expense, and I haven't seen anything in fruition from that, so they're looking into that. And then gasoline expense is just the gasoline that we use to go on our trips. So what was also included here that you guys asked for on the second page is salaries, right? You wanted an allocation and to see how salaries were being broken down. I just looked at this when I passed it around, and I don't understand the first little box because it says that Stacy's salary there was $9,474, and we know that's not correct. But you could see the 3 different scenarios of what was when Stacy was still here, what was after Stacy left, and what is now. So as you could see, the allocations are a little bit different. If you could see from, let's look at the original, that's the first box versus what's current, that's the last box. So at the beginning, they had 5 people in there. They had Marilyn part-time, they had some of my time, and then Rosa, Erica, and Stacy full-time. What we have now, Marilyn is on medical leave, so we have me and Rosa full-time and Wendy part-time. So again, the numbers here don't make sense to me. I think that's a typo because Stacy, even with her allocation being at 0.65, not one whole allocation, it wouldn't be $9,000.
Well, this is a fiscal year 20 budget, which started July 1. And I'm assuming that because Tracy, she left Stacy in October, was it? So she was actually...
September.
Okay, so that's 2
September.
months. That might represent 2 months worth of salary.
Okay, it might,
If
but
it's prorated properly.
yeah,
okay?
it might if that's the way they're looking at it. I was looking at it like what were the salaries then versus
But the key is
what
this
is now.
FY20 at the
Yeah.
top, so that means right there, that's 6 months of this current year. I'm sorry, prior year of 2019 is in fiscal year, 6 months in fiscal year falls in 2019, and six
Okay, so
6
that
months
makes
falls in
sense to-
2020.
Yeah.
So that's a proration, that's basically a proration. Jim, do you agree?
That's correct, although I would say that the original budget, not knowing that Stacy was going to leave, should have included her full year.
Agreed.
So that
Yeah.
But if this is not,
Not knowing.
if this is exactly 2 months, we can figure that out.
Yeah.
And, you know, my question to Ken was that when Stacy left, there was, you know, quite a bit of time that they were piecing things together. They had not given Sandra the hours, they had not given Rosa the hours, and I was wondering where that money's at.
Yeah.
That was my question. And so I can follow up with Ken
Yeah.
in an email.
And then do you guys have any other questions around the budget? As I said, I really can't answer a lot of the salary breakdown because,
I'll just say that dues to MCOA, I can tell you though, what they do is they advocate for senior center money.
okay, so I guess that's
So,
where the.
yeah,
Okay.
they,
At the state
So-
level.
at the state level.
So it's a good thing to be a member then, so I
Yeah.
won't look into that. But
Yeah,
as you could
but
see,
we can get Dave Stevens, who's the head of it, to come and have a discussion so that, you know, I can get a breakdown of what the Council on Agings get from that.
no, I mean, if the board thinks that's a good
Yeah.
investment, then that's a good investment.
But
But I
no.
really wanted to show that there's no money being spent on a monthly basis at all. Right now, I have increased programming and it's all with volunteers and sponsorships, and I'll talk more about that when I give the report on the senior center. If there are no other questions around the budget.
And a good point for you folks as far as cable bills go, for a contract with Comcast and Verizon, if we purchase and outright, we will get free cable, so that $300 bill a month will go away.
And that's our internet as well?
Internet is offering.
Oh, okay. But if, right now, I'm assuming that the COA staff is working from the GLSS server, I would assume. But when we completely sever our relationship, will the municipal take over for that? Will we have all municipal addresses? And I would assume if they become part of the city structure, as it
Correct.
should have been?
Correct.
Okay. So we shouldn't see any real change.
Oh, the cable bill will go away.
Right, that's what I was trying to get at. Okay, thank you.
Anybody have any other questions for Sandra?
Are you having fun? Yeah, you don't have to answer that.
The senior center director position was basically the same as, we basically did that, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Senior center activities and update.
Yes. So the first update is, as you guys all know already, the senior center official hours have shifted from 9 to 4 to 8 to 3. And in an email that I sent to you guys, we explained what the reasoning behind that was. So the number one thing was around safety. They looked at the other senior centers in our catchment area, and they all close at 3 or before 3. They have shorter hours, but they all close by 3, and that was the reasoning behind that. For me personally, it was around programming. So if you were to walk in the senior center any day at 3 o'clock, you would see 0 to 7 people on any given day, but usually closer to 0. And really, there were 3 participants who liked just to stay there, and most of the time, right? So at 8 to 9, we have a whole load of seniors there for a breakfast program. The breakfast program was never a senior center activity. It's a GLSS program, but because it's in our senior center, all the seniors have now taken advantage of that program. So before, that was like a 12 people program. Now we get anywhere up to 60 seniors every day in the morning for breakfast, for the breakfast program. So to me, it was about programming. There was never any programming after 3. Our latest programming is till 3, which is bingo, which is one of our big activities, and nothing after that. So if you were to walk in the senior center, you might see 3 seniors just sitting, hanging out, speaking to each other. But in the morning, you had 60 seniors. So because I was in the official senior center hours, we didn't have to staff that hour, but we always try to staff that hour because, again, a lot of seniors, and it had just become too much. So Rosa's there at 8 o'clock in the mornings, where she should be doing senior center activities or senior center services. She's helping out to serve breakfast, because from 12 to 60 people, it's a big difference. And we have so many seniors with so many needs. From everything from my cell phone doesn't work anymore, and this is how I communicate to the world, to I don't have any food, to I need diapers, to I had an accident. It's mayhem and it's crazy. So to me personally, it made a lot of sense when the hours were officially shifted. Today, we just hired another part-time person for the senior center. I wanted to bring her to introduce her, but that was impossible. And she'll be staffing that hour, 8 to 9, or she'll be, there to staff that hour specifically because the need is so big. So that's the first thing. The other thing is that I changed the look of the newsletter. And what I did was, in the first few pages, I put what I heard seniors said what was more important to them when looking at the newsletter is what are the activities and what's going on this month. So if you take a look at that, that looks a little bit different. And then towards the end, on the last 2 pages, I put all the ads. And on the back page, I put the information that usually doesn't change, which is this board, the Friends of the Lynn Council on Aging, and senior center staff. But if you go ahead and look, and as I said last time, we're working directly off of suggestions, right? So if you look at page 3, which is the weekly programming at the senior center, I highlighted, new programming. So ethnic hair salon, English classes, and the Crown season 3, that was another suggestion we had. The trips is a big suggestion on a weekly basis. But Pam, I had no idea this existed. And you made this. It's the Mass Senior Action Town Hall meeting that you had in September. And I got a hold of this in December. And I didn't know this existed, but I also saw this and started working directly off of this. So this is also suggestions that the seniors had for the senior center. And if I could just read some of the items, and I included that in your packet, is resources to help seniors. So again, my number one reason for shifting the hours, set time for space. That's something that we have now. We have, I know you guys seen it. It's called our, what do you call it? Our fireplace room. It's now open for seniors to be able to use it whenever they need it. There's a phone in there, and they just could go in or they could just ask. But something on there was salon for all hair types, and that's where we got the idea of ethnic hair salon. Computer access in classes, a listening room, health education, culture and language education, that's where we got the ESL classes from, and affordable trips. Our trips are all $3. So just want to highlight that we're working directly off of suggestions with zero money to spend. So we have a whole bunch of volunteers, and I've been talking to everybody about sponsorships. As you know, in December, we had 3 big events. We had our annual holiday party which the Friends sponsor, which is always a big, big event. But just as big, we had our Christmas Eve celebration and a New Year's Eve celebration, and in a new way, right? So we had music, we had food for New Year's, we had the nice flute, champagne cups, and in every single table, we had snacks for them and hors d'oeuvres and refreshments, and they were just really happy, and that's been all from sponsorships. So I am trying to incorporate as much as I can. All of our trips come directly from our suggestion box. I just look at them, pick them out, and then I put to come so people don't get anxious and they know their suggestions are coming down the road. But that's how we're working. So trying to make as many people as we can happy. Not everybody's gonna be happy about everything, but working with, you know, a very, very tiny budget with no expenses off of there besides the salaries, and trying to incorporate as much as we can, getting what we hear directly from our seniors. So.
I have a question for you,
Yes.
Sandra. On your sponsorship, what happens if you can't get a sponsor?
Mm-hmm.
Does the Friends step in, or what happens, or do we just lose that activity you're trying to do for the seniors?
Yeah. So let me knock on wood. As of for right now, so for February, I wanted something big also for Valentine's Day celebration. I want to do something monthly, like a bigger event. And I asked for sponsorship and I got it. So we're gonna have a musical drum circle, and we'll have hors d'oeuvres. But my thought is, if I can't get sponsorships for the things I'm planning, I will come to the Friends.
Okay. So we're not going out, the seniors aren't gonna lose out, you are trying to get the sponsorship, if not, go to the
Yes,
Friends.
and I did have a conversation with Joni at the beginning, and she said that everything that the Friends had sponsored in prior years, they will continue sponsoring. So for example, the holiday party, but they also sponsor something in March, right? For, so I will be talking to Joni. I'm not even gonna look for a sponsorship.
Yeah.
I will be talking to Joni. But everything else in between, I've been talking to sponsors and doing things the way we can.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions for Sandra?
Oh, one more thing. Another biggie was, that we heard from and everything else was around wellness offerings. So on page 4, I put all the wellness offerings together so people could really see what's being offered at the center, but also trying to incorporate more wellness offerings. So hearing aid information, they're there once a month, that's new. Blood pressure checks, that was once a week, once a month, now it's 2 times a month. And I got a suggestion for blood sugar testing. They used to do that at the senior center before, when they had a Lucy booth a few years back. And I spoke to the director of home care about bringing that back with some of our nurses from the GLSS. And she said that the nurses weren't comfortable because of that liability that was involved. I do have a contact at the Lynn Community Health Center, and my next step is to reach out to them to see if they can offer that at the center, because that is something that the seniors are looking for, blood sugar testing. Okay, sorry.
Anybody have any other questions? All right, we'll move on. Friends report, Joan.
Yes, the last meeting that we had with the Friends was in November, and I don't have a formal report today because we did not meet in December. But as you all know, we continue to have the ice cream socials. We had it in November and December and January, and we will have a regular meeting January 30th. And we do meet and talk with Sandra. So any request she has, that is on our agenda, that she can come to the Friends if there is some activity that she wants to sponsor and there is no sponsorship. It will come before our board and we will vote on it. So we are up and running.
All right, thank you, Joan. Anybody have any questions for Joan? All right. Let's see, 2020 plan lease agreement with GLSS. We kind of discussed that already with the RFP,
And
so.
again, I know that we've asked you to comment and criticize and suggestions on the job posting. I don't want to put too much on it because these are two big decisions moving forward, the senior director and then maybe more important, but they're both important, the location and the senior director. To start thinking about, some things are obvious, parking will be important, the public transportation will be important, the number of square feet it'll have, how much of a build-out will happen. There's going to be some upfront costs that we'll never ever, hopefully, have to see again for a while. So what you folks want to see in that RFP, from a legal standpoint, the City Council Public Property Committee would be putting together and approving the RFP. And I speak, Council Staub was at the last meeting in November, and he's eager for input from this board on the musts, the wish list, things you don't want to see. That may be just as important as things you want to see. That it be included in that RFP, and the RFP has to be advertised for 30 days. So factor that in as far as your time crunch. We went out to bid twice on Gannon because the bids were non-responsive. We went out to bid recently on some single-family homes, and the bids did not comply with the bid. We had to redo it. So I recommend strongly that to prepare for perhaps at least 2 go-arounds on an RFP. And that realistically is probably a 70 to 80-day process, and then you have to factor in when the council meets. And I'm sure Council Staub would be more than happy to have a public property meeting on an off night in order to make sure that we're not up against the gun, and we're looking at opening bids and looking at bids in June. And in fact, in the build-up, because the build-up's got to be part of this process. So I don't even know if the city should feel comfortable, this board should be comfortable reviewing an RFP in February with an idea that it wouldn't go out probably until March, wouldn't be open until April. If we didn't get bids that were satisfactory or met our needs, we had to redo it in May, and we're getting really close to that July 1st date. So if people have wish lists, I'd like to have a document that I can share with you folks as soon as possible with your wishes and just for review. And perhaps it even makes sense to have a meeting early in February if once I get your input and both your strong wishes, your wish list, if it was an ideal world with unlimited money, and things that you actually don't want to see, that you don't want it in a certain section of town where there's no public transportation. And Sandra would probably be something more like, who is the current population, and would they move? How far would they? I mean, I think that's a real important point. If they're not going to move, if they wouldn't follow 5 miles, then you may want to keep it into a small radius, the new location. Keeping in mind that limits the number of potential bidders, and downtown has parking issues, as Diana knows well, it's her award. So it's hopefully put together a real good RFP that meets the needs of the seniors, but also has a realistic location that we'll have that will also meet the needs, because if we find a place with no parking and people rely on driving here, then we don't want to lose those people. We don't want to lose anybody. The ideal world will keep the existing base and then with this RFP and then actually be able to expand.
Thank you. All right, next is bylaws discussion and nomination subcommittee, but.
Put it on hold till we have a full board.
Till we have, yeah. Any regular business?
I would just, it's probably backstepping. One thing is, I had mentioned before that the one zip code in Lynn, I told Sandra, 01902, there are 10,000 people that qualify for food stamps that do not get them. And it's a process, and so I was hoping that Bob could bring that to the GLSS board to work with case managers to see if maybe there was a better way to support and make sure people are getting the benefits that they need. Also, they could do a benefits checkup each year, just to make sure that they're getting the most out of their SNAP benefits. Because if they are not, if they can claim $35 in out-of-pocket health expenses, you know, that can make a world of difference in cash to people. And also, you know, maybe we'll work with Sandra to do some more education on how to use the market, the farmer's market, to up their benefits, because they can double benefits with $40. I seen you put that in there, and we can help people, you know, do that. Because the other thing, Mass Senior Action is going to reach out to the grocery stores. I don't understand why Market Basket wouldn't have somebody right at the door signing people up for food stamps. Because if you figure on average somebody's getting $100 a month times 10,000, that would be some good cash for the grocery stores here locally. You know, so if you don't mind, Bob, to
No,
bring
not
that
at
up,
all.
I think
I
that.
don't know. If there's a summary or Tracy, I can use a bulleted, so it's something
Yeah,
that's really
I can give you
digestible.
I can give you the data that shows by zip code in Lynn, the people who qualify, who are getting zero.
And I can assume that I can present it as something that the Lynn Council on Aging would like Bliss to consider. I mean, I'm assuming that the board and the chairman support that. Okay, because I don't want to speak out of turn.
No, we support that,
Okay,
help
so if I
whoever we
can,
help.
if I get something, the summary that is, once again, I'll go over it too.
Yep.
And we're meeting twice a month now, so it might be something I can get on the agenda fairly quickly.
Okay.
Anybody else have anything on their regular business?
Pam, I have North Shore Community College students. They're coming in April to do a special project. They came in December and did something with cell phones and seniors, but the project could be around this, and we could put it, publicize it in the newsletter, and it could be geared towards this. So I'm gonna get in contact with you. I'll be talking to them next month,
Okay.
and maybe the project
And our
could be
friends at
around.
Mass Law Reform, they could even come down and do a training for them. And
Could they?
Yeah, they would do that, absolutely. Also, just so everybody on the council knows, I'm working with LHAN to see if they can't do more training in-house at the housing as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and what I could say with helping people every day try to, get on food stamps is that every call takes 45 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes. I think there's a big breakdown there. As an advocate, try to do something about that.
Yes.
I know now they have a specialized number for seniors and everything else, but still, to navigate it's so long, it takes so long.
We have legislation in right now that as people sign up for other things, including Mass Health, that it would just be a checkbox, and then that information could just go right to DTA. But then there's a little blockage at DTA too, so we're trying to get over those hurdles, but yeah, it should be much easier to get food.
Does anybody have any other business?
So, Joan, the new hairdresser, so it's my understanding that one of the hairdressers used to give friends $150.
Our regular hairdresser is Sophia, and from what I understand from Stacy, when she came on, there was an agreement that she would give 5% to, of whatever her income was, to the Friends of the Council on Aging. And she had her own shop. She has since closed her shop. So she went from being there on Wednesdays to adding Fridays. And she continues to give us, it's not a definite amount. Normally it was 100, sometimes on a good month, she might give 150. Last month it was 100. So that's...
I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
I think that's really nice and generous of her.
It is, and it's a big help for us with our, because our fundraisers, other than the pull-apart, they don't generate much money. You hear me talk about the ice cream social, that certainly It's not a fundraiser. We have it listed as a fundraiser, but it isn't. It was something that years back, when LeGros and the former president felt it was something that would help the seniors. And they really enjoy it because it's only 50 cents. We did raise it. It was 25 cents for a sundae with all the toppings. And we did raise it to 50 cents. And it's still an activity that they enjoy. So
Yeah.
Sophia's donation to the Friends, that was an agreement that she had with Stacy.
Oh, okay.
Is there anything in writing?
Pardon?
Is there anything in writing?
No,
No
no.
obligations with regard to coverage or insurance or
She's
liability
under,
protection?
no.
They
she-
carry their own, once they're
Is
licensed.
she required to provide a certificate to you folks of insurance?
I don't know
Jim.
what the
Well, I agree
form,
definitely on July 1st. Right now, it's Glissa's issue. So-
Well, I think it's great that she does that, but I'm sorry, I'm part cynic too. Is like, does she share her receipts with you? Do you know what she's making?
no,
So do you know what 5% of what is?
no.
Okay, I'm just curious.
That was the initial, and I only sought that out since Stacy left.
I understand.
Because before that, we were just graciously accepting.
I think it's a great thing, but I also
Yeah.
think every once in a while you have to scrutinize stuff to make sure that people are really getting the benefit that they deserve.
Right, but there has been no formal
I understand.
contract. It was
It's
basically.
the way we do things. We're tribal, we're not corporate.
Anybody have?
So
And I think-
you-
and this is a good point. Moving forward, depending on the income levels, the city, when we take over, we will have to comply with 30B. So it is not a situation where depending again, we'd have to find out what the income level is. Is a vendor that is making money on, will be on city property or city lease property. If it hits certain thresholds, we would have to go off for quotes. So I think $10,000, if the $10,000 a given year, we would have to at least make 3 phone calls to 3 hairdressers, hairstylists, and say, what.
The world.
These are
The
all
world we live in.
day to day that the senior director, that you folks don't have to do, you don't have to worry
It's called
about procurement laws.
procurement law.
But it's gonna be, we're gonna learn July 1st quick.
I understand, and the reason this came up is because we now have 2 other new hairdressers
Yeah.
on the property, and we wondered, and I said this to Sandra, or maybe Rosa, I can't remember, because I said, are they going to contribute part of their profits? And I happened to see one of the hairdressers, and I asked her first day there, and she had 1 customer.
I know other councils on aging have hairdressers, they even have salons set up.
Right,
So there has to be somebody, because they are municipal entities, they have to have something that satisfies 30B, written up, a protocol. That is probably something that I'll contact the 2 that I've worked with for years.
Okay.
And see if they have anything they could share with me. But there might be other contacts that people might have that would give us, because we don't want to expose the city to complaints about not being fair.
right,
You know, because that could cost way more than $10,000 a year, you know,
Right.
for litigation. So I think it's appropriate, because we are duty bound to provide due diligence. We have to protect this organization and the city to make sure that we don't waste a lot of extra money that could go to services for attorney's fees. No offense intended.
On salary.
Okay, so, or billable hours. So I think it's advantageous for us to take a step back now, because we've been working under this old system that, God bless Vince LePuy, St. Vincent provided for us 20-something years ago.
Right.
And we have to kind of bring it up into the new world. And unfortunately, it puts an extra burden on all of us, but it is something we absolutely have to do.
right.
Okay, so we don't need to shy away from it. We have to, as W.C. Fields used to say, grab the bull by the tail and face the situation. Okay, it ain't pretty, but we have to do it. So I will see what I can do with regard to that. I hope
Okay.
if anybody else has contacts with other councils on aging, like Beverly or Peabody, or they're pretty advanced and pretty comprehensive what they offer. It might be advantageous for us to have a kind of a good spread of what smaller and larger councils on aging provide for hair salons, or cell phone assistance, or legal advice, anything that they might have available. We can copy it, it's no problem.
Right,
But why reinvent the wheel if somebody's already done the work? And if you're in the public domain, it's part of the public property. You're not going to be destroying anybody's copyright. Okay? So,
Okay.
let's go at it.
All right, anybody have anything else to add?
Sorry I'm late.
All right.
This meeting went a little long.
Technically, we really don't have like a meeting informational, but it's a motion to,